So as I was saying, I leave about a 16th of an inch around. And when you decide how much you're going to leave as a border around the pattern paper, so you can see the base paper, you have to be consistent throughout your project. Always have the same amount of border. Okay. So here, one thing I did, which is very important. So let's say this is the album or the folio. When you cut your pattern paper here, and you're gonna have the continuing here if you want to. That's what I decided to. So I want to have to continue with the same paper, okay? But there's one thing you need to do is because this here is gonna have 1/16 of an inch away from the edge, and that one too. If you don't want to have a flower that looks so stretched, you have to remove this little 1/8 of an inch pretty much. So you have to do that. It's very important, because otherwise it doesn't look too good. So I'm going to do that right now. So it's going to be right here. Hope I did the right, yeah. And this here. So then you can see that the pattern is continuing. Like this flower is the regular shape. It's not stretched. This one here, you see just a little bit because I've removed this part. Otherwise it would have been stretched so much, which wouldn't have been nice. So then what you do, you need to glue those on. If you decided that you wanted to distress the edges with ink, you do that before you start gluing them. And you have to remember throughout the project to do every single piece. I did that on another project, the project I just finished yesterday, and it takes a long time, so you have to be sure that you want to do it. But it looks really nice. Especially when I do vintage, then I would do that for sure. So I'm just gluing those pieces there together. And then when I'm going to be done with that, I'm going to do the ribbon and the trim. I like to do 2 layers, as long as they're really thin, otherwise it makes too much bulk. So here I make sure I'm on the right side, so that the pattern continues. So it's this right here. And this is going to be going a little bit inside. So usually what I like is I like to have the paper meet the fabric here. Okay. And then I already cut this piece. It's going to go right here. So it goes a little bit underneath the fabric and here, there. And then if I have any loose fabric, I'm going to add some glue. But I'm going to do this first, because I don't want the paper to go on top of the fabric, otherwise it adds bulk. As you can see, I don't put a lot of glue. I put a little bit everywhere, but just a little bit. No lumps. Oops. And just a little bit. So here's going to go right there. Make sure it's underneath the fabric. Nice and straight on each side. Here, if it doesn't meet the fabric, it's not too bad. It doesn't matter very much, because I'm going to put a trim here. It's going to hide the joint between the two. Okay, I'll make sure I have my borders here really nice and equal, even. And then I press on everything. Okay. And then the latch, I'm going to talk about the latch later. So here I decided that I would put some white trim here. So it's going to be on top of both, and the fabric and the paper. And I make sure I have at least half an inch on each side. So I would put like 3/4 just to be on the safe side. And if you want to put just this, if you use this glue to glue it on, you're going to see the glue through. So that's why I'm adding a little trim on top of it. So here I'm going to put some glue just on the front. And I'm going to leave a little piece here, a little bit there, and then a little bit on the bottom. Make sure it's nice and straight. Even here, parallel to my edge of the book. And then I'm going to press on this. And then I'm going just in the center. I'm going to put a fine line of glue. This is what I like about this glue, is it glues really well. Trim over ribbon or fabric or lace or whatever. really works well. So I decide here to put it that way. Actually, I have a little bit on each side. Here I have to stretch it because it was kind of tucked on the spool, and then it was kind of crooked. So I'm going to make sure it's nice and straight. Put glue all the way to the edge, to the tip, to the edge of my ribbon, so that it's going to be glued on to that as well. And I stretch it, and then I press. Make sure it's nice and straight, parallel. Then I'm going to cut the excess here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I was supposed to glue the fabric inside first. So I'm going to glue the fabric first. And if you have too much fur, you can trim it. You can groom it a little bit. And then I'm going to glue that on. But this I need a little bit more glue. Right here. And also another thing you need to do is to make sure that your fabric was really nice and glued all the way to the edge, which this one is not. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to show you. So you do that to all the edges. Wait until it's nice and set before you leave it, but because otherwise come back and it popped up, and then it's dry, so it's not gluey anymore, so you have to add some glue, so it adds bulk. We don't want to. And because I'm going to be putting paper on top here, I could cut this little pom-pom there, so it doesn't make too much bulk. So this one here is going to be okay. It's going to be on the edge. This one too. But the one where my paper is going to be, I'm going to cut the little thing here, pom-pom. So I want to show you here that the fabric right here is still loose, so you need to glue that. It's just that when I glue that piece on the binder, I did not put the glue far enough, but I rather not put it too far and then add some, rather than put too much and then it's just smearing here, which you don't want to. So I'm going to check this one is good. This one here needs a little bit. And if you're French speaking and you're watching this series, just wait a little bit and you're going to have the French version following this series. Okay, so I'm going to glue this on here, and then all you have to do after that is glue all your trims like I did the first one, and then you're done. And then we're going to work with the latch after that, because we have to do that latch before we mat the inside, so that we can hide the legs of the brads. Okay, so this is going to be my book here. It's a little bit bigger than this one. It probably contains it. Not quite. Okay, so here also what you have to do once you've done all of that, you grab a piece of cardstock and you have to cover all four of them. Okay, or before you do this piece, you have to do the other edge here, right here. Okay, and then when it's done, you go from one side of the fabric or the trim to the other one, and then you go maybe 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch from the edge, and you cut that, and then you glue that on. So I'm gonna leave one for the next video in part 2. This is part 1B. I'm gonna leave one so that you see how I do it. Okay. And once you've done that, you have to really wait at least 10 minutes before you do and you fold them. So that's why I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to leave one to do with you, and then I'm going to show you how to fold the one that I've done before, because it'll be more than 10 minutes. And then we'll do the latch as well. So that'll be part 2. Okay, so I'll see you later. Thank you.